All right, so let's take a look at this equation. This is just like the last one that we did. The key thing here that I want you to recognize is that this is the only place that you see your variable, right?
Right.
Thank you. Now you're going to be YouTube famous. So this is the only place we see the variable. Peel away the layers. This guy is in your way. As we saw in the last problem, how do I undo a power to the 4/3? You use the reciprocal power to the 3/4, right? But if I do that on one side, what? Do it to the other side. So raise both sides to the 3/4 power. Now this one is going to be just like what you see in the homework, and there is going to be a bit of a trick to it, so make sure you star this one and look for it in the homework. On the left side, when I do a power to a power and I multiply, since these guys are reciprocals, that gives you a power of what? 1, so we just have what? Just the 5x plus 2. On the right side, as we mentioned before, and I'll go ahead and say this again, when you have something that's of the form x to the m over n power, we said how that becomes the nth root of x and then raised to the m power like that. So, what's the root that we have if the power is 3/4? It is the 4th root, so we'd say the 4th root of 16. Now I want you to pause for just a second. We are basically taking the 4th root of both sides, and since we're doing that, you've got to pay attention to this one little guy right here. This 4, whoops, that's good. This 4 is meaning an even root, and if you are taking an even root of both sides, then that means that you have to use plus or minus. Okay? So since that denominator is 4 and we're taking the 4th root, that means you've got to use the plus or minus. So over here, this is going to be plus or minus that 4th root of 16. And then this gets raised to that numerator, which is 3. So you raise all that to the 3rd power. I know it looks confusing. Just remember, the denominator becomes your index, and the numerator is your power. So step by step, let's finish this guy. So 5x plus 2 is equal to plus or minus, what is the 4th root of 16? That's just 2 raised to the 3rd power, and so now we cube that guy. So 5x plus 2 equals, if you cube a positive, what do you get? Now if you cube a positive, you get positive. If you cube a negative, you get, hold on there.
Oh, it's cute.
If you cube a negative, that means 3 negative factors, you would still have a negative. So basically when you cube this plus or minus, you still have plus or minus. And then 2 to the 3rd is 8. We've seen the plus or minus show up before when we were solving equations using the square root property, right? So finish getting x by itself. What do we do next? Move the 2 to the other side by subtracting it. Since the plus or minus is already in play, you've got to put it in front of it. So it's 5x equals negative 2 plus or minus 8, and then what? Divide both sides of the equation by 5. Do y'all agree? So x is equal to negative 2 plus or minus 8 over 5. Can I leave my answer like this? No. I know it's so disappointing, but check this out. If I didn't have the plus or minus, I just had the plus. Can you combine negative 2 plus 8? You can, which means you've got to separate it. If you had something that was imaginary or radical, you could leave it just as it is. But since we don't have that, we're going to take this and separate it into our two answers. So one of these guys with the plus, so negative 2 plus 8 divided by 5. And then the other solution, x equals negative 2 minus 8 divided by 5. So you separate so that you can simplify each of these answers. What do you get from the first one? You get a positive 6 over 5. Can that reduce? No, so this guy is A-OK. And for the other one. So this becomes negative 10 over 5, which equals negative 2. So in this problem, we actually get two solutions.